I think we have to talk about what's going on with this retail market.
I think you do.
Meme stock craze.
Yeah, I think it's worthy. Sure.
I think it's worthy today. And I know meme stock is a word that gets thrown around in both positive and negative context, but for the sake of this conversation, we're going to use it as a catch-all for companies that attract a lot of attention from retail participants that may not be looked upon so favorably by institutional investors, like your GameStops and your AMCs of the world. And a lot of people right now are saying that what we're seeing right now in GameStop is akin to a gamma squeeze again, like we saw in January 2021. Now, Tom, I think that you would agree with me that this isn't a gamma squeeze. But for people out there who weren't trading in 2021, it may be worth breaking down what a short squeeze is, what market makers do, and what a gamma squeeze actually is, and why the market isn't exactly set up for that right now. And you shouldn't be trading GameStop the way that you were in 2021. So, of course, a short squeeze is when investors or traders who are borrowing stock short are forced to buy those shares back at an increasingly higher price. It's more expensive for those short sellers to maintain those positions. And as the price goes up, well, they're forced to return the shares to their original owners. And that pushes the market higher. When it comes to the options market and market makers, you're not necessarily dealing with an individual investor. You're dealing with someone who's creating contracts, who is trying to optimize their positioning in such a manner that they don't necessarily care about which way the market's moving, just so that they can be in the position to collect as much surplus the market's generating as possible from those flows. And so in a gamma squeeze, it's not just a short squeeze, it's because of the positioning that market makers have relative to their options delta. And so as a stock price goes up, because they've been selling these out of the money calls, they're forced to increase their delta hedging. They're forced to buy more of the underlying shares, which in turn forces the share price up, which puts the screws on the people holding shorts. And in turn, they cover, the share price goes up. It's this Ouroboros snake eating its tail, positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Now, in January 2021, at the time, right, that's the basics of it, and that's probably a ham-fisted explanation here. But the basics of it in January 2021, GameStop had a float where the amount of shares shorted were about 223% of all available shares, more than double the shares out there were shorted. So this created a huge problem when all these traders started buying out of the money calls, reflexively pushing the market higher. The share prices obviously snapped to the upside. Today, GameStop has about 27% of its shares shorted right now. That is a very high level, to be honest, and to be fair about the situation. Anything more than 20% is considered high. But it's not in the stratosphere where we were in 2023. So could there be some short covering going on right now? Yes. Is this a gamma squeeze? Unlikely, at least at this point in time. And so if you're a trader looking at this right now, you can't necessarily approach it the same way you did in 2021 because the table isn't set up the same way, even if the food on it looks pretty similar.
You know, it's funny. I love the term short squeeze because it is very one-dimensional, meaning you can only have a short squeeze to the upside. That's what a short squeeze is. The shorts get squeezed. When you have stocks that are going down really fast, they call that a crash.
Completely.
It's
like what sounds good, what sounds bad, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. A crash sounds way worse than a short squeeze.
Right.
Short squeeze sounds like okay.
Short squeeze just says like, you know what? We're gonna try to get a little bit more juice from this.
A short squeeze just means you're taking out all the people that were un-American to start with. You know, like you're taking out all the terrorists and all the.
That
heathens.
Is what I was thinking.
Yeah, all the heathens. We're getting rid of them. The shorts. It's very un-American to short, but a crash, is much different. A gamma squeeze, on the other hand, doesn't care. You can have a gamma squeeze to the upside. You can have a gamma squeeze to the downside. I mean, puts can explode.
Right.
So that's the fundamental difference between a short squeeze and a gamma squeeze. Again, options don't. It's a different hierarchy. And in the option world, people that are short calls are usually also short puts, and more people are short puts than calls. You get a lot of put gamma squeezes, blah, blah, blah. In the option world, when calls get more expensive, puts get more expensive. And when puts get more expensive, calls get more expensive. That's just how it works. I agree with you on basically everything you said, which is very strange for me to say. I agree with Chris Vecchio on everything you said.
I did it. Beth, I did it. I'm done. I climbed the mountain.
I do not think we are anywhere near a repeat of 2021. I don't think this is there. There will be no regulatory issues this time. There will be no brokerage firm or clearing issues. There will be no cash or borrowing issues. The markets will be far more orderly. I wouldn't be surprised. I know volatility yesterday and today probably got on the weeklies got up to a couple hundred, and on the monthlies got to like 200 plus.
Yeah, still there.
Oh, still there. Okay, but I fully expect this entire thing to fizzle out within a couple of days. I think this is going to be a.
How do they find what is like? How do you think they find a meme stock? Do you think it's just because?
Oh no. This is
outstanding short float.
Well, I think that's what happened in 2021. I think
That's
right
part of the
now
criteria.
this is people have memories. Like this is, first of all, the whole meme stock thing.
It's a new phenomenon.
It's good. We used to have things like this. We just didn't call them meme stocks. Okay, it's not something
We
brand
didn't
new.
have a TikTok name for them yet.
No real name. But the reality of what we're seeing right now is just what's so interesting to me is that they tie it back. Like you can't say you're back if you're Roaring Kitty to me. Like Michael Jordan can say, I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
Roaring Kitty cannot say I'm back. And I don't think
Well, the guy turned tens of thousands of dollars into close to $40 million at its peak in the span of less than a year
that's like
because of GameStop.
nobody knows. You have no idea. Like I just don't think anybody
No,
really
he
knows.
he was publishing all of his options positions daily in late 2020 and early 2021.
I know,
You could track
but
it in real time.
I'm just saying nobody really knows. Okay. I mean, you just don't know. And
But Tom, perception matters more than reality.
I understand. I don't think that this is kind of what we call a new paradigm at all. I don't think this is, cooler heads will prevail. Let's put it that way. And I don't think these stocks are going to, let's see where,
I didn't think this GameStop's back under 50 now. I had little faith that this would have happened again. Like I did not.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I thought that there was a chance yesterday when GameStop
Maybe Jimmy, whatever. Goes up.
It was up
$3,
$7 pre-market, and I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest sale at $24. I didn't do anything because last time I went down a big number on the first day, thinking that
It's
it was
a stupid directional trade anyway.
and I decided not to do it this time. And so this time I said I'm going to wait 3 days before I
It's halted again. It just opened and then it halted. It was open
GME
for a
is?
couple minutes. Yeah.
yeah, and I think AMC's halted too.
It is AMC under $9.
Yeah, I am. I'm kind of getting a kick out of this. I personally think it's good for the industry because it brings people into the game. It's a very engaging thing, and I mean the whole idea of like somebody named Roaring Kitty and the whole idea of like, stocks that people.
I know, and that's why I say, yeah, you got me once.
I know.
You got me. I mean, the public,
But
everybody.
you know what's
It was
fun about it is,
news. It became, anybody could be a trader. The whole thing. It was great. To do it twice.
But the reason GameStop is interesting, and the reason
That's a feat I
AMC,
didn't think was going to happen.
the reason AMC, Reddit, GameStop, Spirit Airlines, BlackBerry, the reason they're all interesting is because people actually associate with those names and those acronyms. They don't associate with things like if you said to somebody, oh, you should buy NVIDIA here because it's going to 1,500. People are like, what am I going to do? I'm not buying chips direct from NVIDIA. Like it's not the same thing. It doesn't mean the same stuff. And when you talk about AI and things like that, people don't really, it's very difficult for the average person that's not involved in the markets to relate to a story about Microsoft or NVIDIA, or Apple or spies or any of that kind of stuff. But people can relate to AMC. I went to the movies there. They can relate to GameStop. Yeah, I was in one of those crappy stores one day. They can relate to a BlackBerry or, a Spirit Airlines. I mean, at least they understand what it is. So it brings people to the game. Is it a transformational moment like we were in 2021? No, this is not a transformational moment. Nothing like that. Is it kind of interesting? Yeah. Is it cool? Yeah. Do I like it? Yeah. Do I hope it lasts for a while? Yeah. But do I think it's really going to price-wise? And the answer is, I don't think so.
No, and one of the ways to play it, perhaps, I saw Tim Knight share this the other day, I think maybe Wednesday before last call. XBD, the broker dealer, index, it was pushing up to all-time highs earlier today. And so if you are going to see a retail trading craze, maybe it's some of the brokerages that benefit as opposed to trying to pick the individual stock out of the hat. But Tom, again, 2021 also a different situation because we're coming right out of the pandemic, right? And the vaccines only become available in November 2020. And so by January 2021, they're not widespread. People aren't out there yet. A lot of individuals, and I know this not just from looking at the data, but my brother works for FanDuel. Him and I had those conversations in 2020. No one was sports betting. It didn't matter that KBO baseball or, Japanese sumo wrestling was on ESPN at 5 o'clock in the morning. No one was betting. Everyone moved over to financial markets. And so retail trading had a very different level of participation back then, if only because there was a lack of other alternatives to express those speculative impulses that we as human beings have just by nature. And so once sports leagues reopen, once sports betting picks back up, a lot of people who came to financial markets in 2020 and 2021, they left and maybe they're here still, but a lot of them haven't returned. And so that type of activity and attention to something like Wall Street Bets for a GME or an AMC isn't there. But I think the better question is whether or not GME is going to be the name. Like, let's say Roaring Kitty has another one of these stocks in his pocket that he's about to announce he has a position in. Why would it be GME? I went back and looked at all of his videos yesterday. I spent a good deal of time watching all of his research from 2020 on what he laid out in GME. And the company's financials right now look nothing like they did back then. The market positioning, the equity profile looks nothing like it did in 2020. And so to think that GME is going to be the target, it's almost like when I hear like Citron Research or a Bill Ackman, right? When they call out a stock and make a trade in it, they don't usually go back to the well. George Soros and Stanley Druckenmiller don't break the Bank of England twice. People usually move on to their next target. And so, yes, while GME and AMC have seen an uplift here, I don't necessarily think this is going to stick around. Is today the day to fade it for the bold and brave, perhaps? But this is not a logical market. And so logical trading rules don't necessarily apply here.
That's fair. It's funny. When I first got in this business, there was a guy named, this was the early 80s, and there was a guy named Joseph Granville. And Granville used to publish a weekly letter, and it would come out every Monday. And everybody that, when I first got in the business, everybody in my office, when I got my first job on Wall Street, would sit around and try to guess. They were all technicians, and they tried to copy everything that Granville would, the way he would analyze stuff. And then they would try to guess what stocks he's going to like and what stocks he's not, and what he was going to say about the market. Because they felt like, if he decided that the next Monday was going to be Black Monday, then it was Black Monday. And because that's
what he said went.
What he said went. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a very short-lived thing. Again, his last what he said went was probably 1981. But, then there was always people like that throughout the years. There was a period of time when there was an Elaine Garzarelli, and there was there were people like that throughout the years. Roaring Kitty is no different. Okay, he's just another.
He's tweeted out 9 times this morning already.
Yeah, he's an internet sensation. He's monetizing this. I think it's cool that some people are. I find it fascinating that people will listen to him or whatever or do. But I really think it's more of just trying to jump on the whole bandwagon thing. But anyway, it all dies, and none of that stuff's lasts. It's impossible.
It is a flash in the pan.
It will be. It's a one-hit wonder. It will disappear.
GME opened again. It's 54. It was 49, I think, when it closed.
Yeah, AMC just opened. I think it opened.
AMC is halted. Still $9.24.
Okay. Well, GME is up 24 now. Whatever. Reddit's up $2. I'm looking at a bunch of these stocks. Robinhood was up $1, and DJT was up like $2. But I don't know. I haven't looked at Spirit Airlines. Are they coming for that too? Look.
Yep.
I'll look.
What do you want to look at?
Spirit Airlines.
Oh, Spirit. Sorry. Say
it's up 21 cents.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is that your next meme stock size? Is that where you're going?
What is the symbol for BlackBerry? Just BB? Yeah, it's up 50 cents. That's a huge move in that stock.
True.
But I wouldn't play any of that stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing here too is kind of a word of caution. I know back in 2021, because it was very difficult to borrow GME shares, people were going over to some of the ETFs that GME was in, like XRT, for example. Its short interest relative to the outstanding float was north of 500% at one point in 2021, because GME was XRT's largest constituent at one point. I would avoid going over to something like XRT to trade this as a proxy. The ETFs in particular, the options markets are much less liquid. And this isn't like SPY. It's not one of the big guys. It's not a GLD. It's not a USO. It is a sector ETF that may be seeing inflows for reasons that are unrelated to anything fundamental or rational.
Yeah, we talked about that.
There have been problems in the past.
We talked about it this morning.
Good.
I would not touch XRT, not as a GME play. And
That's my
XRT is a
point.
tough option trade too. The markets in there they're not good.
Exactly. So don't keep it plain and simple. There's no reason to overthink it. Don't try to get GME exposure through XRT. It's not capitally efficient.
Okay. So
sometimes it's just best to watch the movie and rubberneck rather than drive the car into the accident.
So I haven't done anything in GME options. I tried to do something yesterday. I tried to do a strangle swap. Oh, they're closed again. Oh,
You're not gonna be able to trade anything on there.
I tried to.
You're gonna have to bang bids or close to banging bids and taking offers.
Yeah, I tried to trade in there yesterday and do something. I couldn't. Let me see how bad the markets are. Yeah, right now you know what? They only go to 55, right?
That's correct.
There's nothing to do. There's nothing out of the money. Yesterday, the front month straddle in May, because I looked at it last night, was $12. Needless to say, that didn't work.
It's goodbye.
Yeah, that was a good buy. But there's nothing to do now. Stock's $55. The 55 straddle is $40. I mean, there is no out of the money options.
Nope.
No, and if you're a competent management team, what are you doing here? What's the conversation you're having today? We got to issue more shares. We can fix our balance sheets.
Didn't they do that?
They've done that.
AMC did it.
AMC did it.
Yeah.
Last night. But they must have already been authorized.
Right.
All right. So, Tony, let's talk, because this is how we got in trouble in the past, but I think you got to do it again. A delta neutral put ratio spread. The markets are too wide.
In GME?
In GME, sure.
It's halted. There's nothing.
No, I know, but when it reopens, do you know you can buy the.
There's earnings June 5th, too. Just throwing it out there.
Oh, it does? I don't know. The market's too
Still
wide.
got 3 weeks.
Market's too wide. All right, Chris, what else? You got anything else for us?
Tom, instead of this being a let me explain, it was more like a let us agree. And I think we should end on that note.